Hello everybody and welcome back. And I have Joe with me tonight. Everybody will remember Joe from a couple of months ago. He explained to us about his sighting and he's come back tonight to talk to me again. And we've just been having a little chat offline between ourselves. And I asked him what got him interested in the Bigfoot subject, the Sasquatch subject. And it made me realise that in America, people have a knowledge base of Sasquatch, so they know what they're seeing and can identify it quite clearly. And Joe's had a sighting himself, and he's spoken to me about that on the show before. And today we're going to speak about his stepson sighting. But first, what got you interested, Joe, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, hi everybody. Well, the first thing was, I don't know if this started the interest, but I was just telling you about how being introduced to the subject at a young age.
Yeah.
With the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the Abominable Snowman character in that, of course, it was my first introduction to the fact that some hairy critter lives out there.
Yeah.
So I after that kind of got interested in it, and as I grew up and through elementary school, there was a library book or two about the subject. I think we had one about the Loch Ness Monster and one about Bigfoot and whatnot, and I probably checked those out, a few times each. And then, of course, when I was about 10 years old, I had my first encounter with the one walked across the road in front of me.
Yeah.
And after that, once you realize that these things exist,
exactly, yeah,
it's over. After that, that's it. You know they exist, and it's hard to, at times, hard to live in a world where other people, aren't aware of them, haven't seen them.
Yeah.
I can't blame people for having their opinions, of course. If you don't believe in Bigfoot, that's your business. I can't help you with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I know what I experienced, and not only once, but once again.
Yeah.
And then just this past summer, my better half, Diane, her daughter got married not too far from us down in Cascade, Idaho, which is it's about 7 hours away. And we were down there staying in a cabin outside of Cascade, and we had a Type B encounter then, where we heard tree knots and branch breaks.
Wow.
So it's just spiraled through the years. It spiraled upward. I started off as a child being interested in it, then seeing one. Yeah. And then with the advent of the internet, I didn't have to rely on Leonard Nimoy in search of to tell me about Bigfoot anymore. With the proliferation of the internet, researching it has become much easier, and it's also become polluted and convoluted as well. Yeah, there is a thing as too much information, and I try to keep my knowledge base, current. I try to stay current with all the topics. I honestly have my own feelings about all the different aspects. My feelings about the alien theory. I have the blue theory, the flesh and blood theory, and you go into the different type of Bigfooter people, and you got to be careful about whose feelings you don't step on. A lot of these people take this very seriously, and maybe to the point where they need to, put down the cup of coffee and step away from the computer and maybe not stare at pictures until their eyeballs bleed. I often find faces in the trees, but I haven't quite got that far yet. No,
I tend to get a lot of stick because I have to spread everything very thin, and I offer all of the theories that are out there. But it doesn't mean I don't have my own theory. I know what my own theory is. And people that get offended, that's great, but you go and sit on that bench because I've got learning to do. That's kind of my attitude to it. If you can say to somebody, I think that's bushcraft, and they go, oh, right, thanks for letting me know. What should I be looking for? You can work with that person. But if they say, yes, it is, and you say, well, actually, I don't think it is. I can see twine involved. I can see cut wood. I can see a small fire pit where they had a fire at the night. And they get fanatical on you. I just walk away, mate. I just think, I'm not even entertaining you because you've made up your mind before we have the conversation. So, and then you just concentrate on the ones that want to learn, don't you, Joe? That's the best thing to do, I think.
Yeah, that's what I've come to over the last couple of weeks. I, as we were just talking about beforehand, I kind of had to take a step back and look at how things were progressing because I found myself, I don't want to use the word calling out, but I've done that too.
Yeah.
I stopped for a little while. I stopped tiptoeing around people's feelings, and I pretty much said whatever I felt.
I didn't.
And, that can become that makes you very unpopular with a lot of people, only because they have their own take on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to whip out the experience card, but I got 30 plus years of this, almost going on 40 years of dealing with Bigfoot in my life.
I understand completely. Completely.
What we're at is, okay, now I'm gonna whip out the experience card and say, okay, I've had 2 sightings, and I, have a little more time in the subject than most.
Yeah, and we've kind of, how do I explain this? Back when me and you started all that time ago, people that were interested in the subject were doing it from like a really scientific point of view or an academic point of view, like Iger when we were talking before. And we kind of learnt from them because it was a very limited knowledge and it was a really good knowledge pool. Unfortunately, with anything, when it becomes popular, it kind of gets polluted a little bit, doesn't it? Well, a lot, really. It gets polluted. So you have to kind of pick your way through. And it's like when you have a new baby and everybody gives you the information. The best thing to do is follow your gut. And if you think something's hinky, then it probably is hinky. Leave it behind and just kind of move forward. There's always going to be those out there that are determined. They've got an agenda. They're ego-led or the kudos-led or whatever. But they'll still be just stuck there arguing in 10 years' time when we've, when other people have moved on and carried on pushing your research forward. I think once you make your mind up what it is, then it stops for you, doesn't it? Because you're not looking anymore. You've made your mind up before you even have the discussion. And if you don't have every single piece of that puzzle, how are you going to work out what the puzzle is?
Yeah, that is true. It is a lifelong quest after that. And for some, I've known people that have fortunately, they were fortunate enough to have had a sighting or encounter, and then they were able to move on from it. Usually the words you get from them is, I know what I saw, and that's all I'm ever going to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a friend that lives just a few miles from me who had an amazing encounter, not less than like 5 miles away from here.
Yeah.
He was a young man and he was staying at his grandmother's house here in Hauser, Idaho.
Yeah.
And he had a sighting, and all I can get out of him is, I know what I saw.
Yeah.
And he will not talk about it any further. And that's just his way of dealing with it, moving on from it.
Yeah, that was my way. I did that for a long time. Because I didn't know what I saw. I didn't know I still don't know what it was to this day, if I'm honest. But the closest thing it fits is a Sasquatch type creature. 7 foot tall, completely hairy, looked like a man and an ape combined, naked. It looked like a man and an ape combined. I don't really know how any other way to describe it, And if I was describing that in Washington or Oregon or in, Florida, people would understand what they'd say. Oh, that was a Sasquatch, that's a skunk ape, that, whatever. In the UK, there's nothing to compare that to. He looked like a man and an ape had been pushed together. And, that's kind of how he looked. I don't really know how else. But it's really hard. You've had sightings yourself, and it's really hard to describe what's in your head, what you actually saw that day. And you can give them hair colour and height and things like that, can't you? But you can't get it exact, really.
No, the first encounter, I got a pretty good look at that thing. But there were features that I couldn't make out, of course, and there are pieces of the puzzle that I remember, and more so than others, but the last encounter I had in 2012, the last sighting, it was brief. It only lasted about a second, but that's all I needed.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what it was. I knew exactly what it was into.
Yeah.
I was very frightened for my life.
Yeah, you were camping back then, weren't you?
I described it before. I mean, that second sighting here in Idaho was extremely frightening. That thing was an absolute brute. I mean, I've seen pictures and drawings, and of course, people trying to describe these things to me through the years, or footage of it, or this is a picture of what it was. But you never get to see the actual scale.
Yeah, it doesn't compare, does it?
The size of the thing is what blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh my Christ, this thing's 3 times the size of me.
It could snap,
it's like literally three, maybe 4 of me.
Yeah.
And it is standing 30 feet away from me, staring at me.
And you know that it can outrun you, and if it wanted you, it could get you in a second. That's what went through my head. That's all I could think about, was that it could just destroy me in a second, and there would be nothing I could do, you know.
I will be forever convinced that it was after the dogs. It wanted those 2 dogs, or those 2 dogs brought it in, or drew its attention.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I remember you saying that.
The way they took off into the woods, and like I said, they came running right back. And I'm like, oh, what did you guys stumble on? At first, I thought it was either A, a bear, or B, a mountain lion, cougar, panther, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, something you could explain.
They realized, oh, you're something new that I don't want to see, and they came running back.
Then
the dynamics of the evening changed, but I've already told you about that one, so.
Was it similar, was it frightening when you were with your stepson and it happened, or was it a different?
Well, I wasn't there, I was at home. We were already at home. Okay, so I can tell you this story. Let's do this one. It really is a great encounter story. And oddly enough, it happened on November 4th, which is the same day I had my recent heart attack. Yeah. Years later. So anyway, we had gone away for the Halloween holiday. I had arranged for some time off. I used to take my period of my birthday through Halloween off every year. And so we had gone away on I think we left on the 28th of October, and we went to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. Me, my wife, my son, and my stepson. Now, this woman, my wife, her name was Tanya, and she and I have been divorced for 10 years.
Yes.
So, anyway, we had gone to, we were on our way to Gettysburg, and I'll just start so I don't miss anything.
Yes.
We're on our way to Gettysburg. We're driving down Route 30 east from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, driving east towards Gettysburg.
Yeah. And
I got rear-ended by a guy in a Jeep. And we were all loaded in the car going away to Gettysburg for, a few-day vacation. And now, bam, I get rear-ended by a guy, and then subsequently I found out he had no driver. His driver's license was invalid, and as it was suspended, and he had no insurance, no driver's insurance. So my insurance had to end up repairing my car, but that kind of put a damper on the whole holiday weekend there at first. But I was determined to have a good time. I was celebrating. We're going to celebrate my birthday and Halloween, so let's try to do the best we can. So we stayed there in Gettysburg for a few days, and then we got a really nice room at this great place there called the Eisenhower Hotel. If you ever get to go to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, that's where you want to stay.
I would love to go.
It's really beautiful there. Anyway, so we did the whole Gettysburg experience. Yeah. The kids took them around the battlefield. We bought them souvenirs and all that. And then on Halloween night, we did the ghost tour downtown, a Ghost of Gettysburg tour, which it was what it was. It was just an expansion of history and myth and legend. It was really kind of cool. It was fun. They have a Segway version. You can rent Segways now. But anyway.
Definitely, I'd love that.
We did that, and so we returned home on Saturday after Halloween. I believe it was the 3rd of November.
Right.
And we pulled in the driveway, and we were all packed up. My car was all bashed up in the rear end, and the accident had kinked the exhaust, so it was kind of louder than it should have been. Mm-hmm. And we get home, and we unpack, and we had left right before Halloween, so our jack-o'-lantern pumpkins were still on our front porch. Yeah. And I asked the boys, I said, can you get rid of those pumpkins, please, when we get unpacked. You know? And they said, yes, of course. And they had gotten, in Gettysburg, I had bought them both these slingshots, these like little wooden, wide, thick slingshots that said Gettysburg, Pennsylvania on them, you know, and just a little touristy thing. And they wanted to go play with them because I wouldn't let them play with them in Gettysburg.
Yeah, they wanted to go in the woods and shoot at things.
They're not going to go shooting at people's cars. God only knows what could happen. So I told them, I says, go ahead, get rid of the pumpkins, and then you guys can play outside for a while.
Yeah.
And then, so they did that. They chucked the pumpkins in the woods behind our house. Now, where we were living at the time was a 4-unit townhouse building. It was only 4. It was me and 3 other neighbors lived in this townhouse building. It was all by itself, and it was on about 3 acres of mowed grass, and it abutted what they call flood control property, which is essentially a marsh/swamp.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, and so they went back and just chucked the pumpkins in the swamp. And they went outside and they played, whatever. And then Jonathan's father came, his biological father came and picked him up and took him over the Saturday evening, and he brought him back the next day. He brought him back about Sunday, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And my son stayed at our house over the weekend. So he, when they got home, they wanted to go back outside and play.
Yeah.
So they went outside, and they had in the corner of the yard. Now I have photographs of everything, you know, just for reference. As far as, you know, if you're ever interested, this is a very well documented encounter. So it's pretty cool. You know, I have photographic evidence, and I have Stan Gordon has his part he wrote online about it, and he had mentioned one day he was going to put it in one of his books, but you know, he's writing books. So hopefully one of these days this one will be included in one. And then, where was I? Okay, so they went outside and they were playing. Yeah. And my wife and I were in the house. I think I was watching a football game or something. And we were laying in our bedroom watching TV and kind of dozing off, but not really asleep.
Yeah.
So Parker was inside playing, or they were inside playing video games after playing out. They played outside for a while, but they came in and they were playing video games. And I was dozing in and off, and then all of a sudden I hear the front door slam, like really hard.
Yeah.
You know, like hard, the kind of hard that makes a parent mad that their kid just slammed.
Yeah.
So I woke up and I'm like, what the hell's going on? And Jonathan came running into our room, and he was extremely excited about something, and his eyes were as big as dinner plates. And he says that he was outside and he saw something. And I'm like, what did you see? And his mother and I are just coming out of our little nappy time.
Yeah.
And he says, he says he saw something. He thinks it may have been a Bigfoot.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, great. We'll talk about this. So I totally blew the kid off. I feel bad.
I know. Yeah.
But he said he went up, and anyway, so I said, look, we were going bowling. All of us were going out bowling that night.
Yeah.
Sunday is a good night to go bowling because it's the beginning of the work week. Everybody's done, and you can get a lane easily, and the bowling alleys aren't busy on Sunday evenings. So we went out and we bowled, and we went out to Wendy's and had some hamburgers and fries, and we came home. And while everybody was getting ready before we left, I did go outside and peek around the corner just to see, because we live next to a farm.
Yeah.
And there were dairy cows over there.
I get you, yes, to see if anything...
And my first inclination was, one of the farmer's cows died out.
I get you.
Check and see. So I went out and I peeked. I didn't see anything. And while everybody was getting ready, that happened. And then we all left. We went bowling. We went out for burgers. We came, while we were sitting at the dinner table there in Wendy's, I looked at Jonathan and I said, okay, man, what exactly were you going on about earlier?
Yeah.
And that's when he relayed the story of what happened. And I was just like, dude, why weren't you a little more forceful? He was totally, you could have just said, hey, man, now listen to me. I need to tell you something.
Why didn't you lead with that?
once we said, just go get ready so we can get going, he kind of felt, I guess he felt like he was being dismissed.
Yeah. It's understandable.
So anyway, so he tells me this story. So he and Parker went out to play. I told you they were outside playing, and they came in and were playing video games. Well, while my wife and I were taking this nap, Jonathan remembers that he has left his slingshot that I bought him back at the fort in the corner of the yard. So you know how kids like to have their forts, their special place where they go hide, play, and play whatever games they play and whatnot. And so they had this little fort thing. I mean, my fort was much nicer. There was like a whole rusty tire rim and some old, like an old bed spring or something. Anyway, so I was, you know, and he tells me he went out to get the slingshot, and as he's approaching the tree line, because the fort is like right at the corner of the yard, like right there. Yeah. He says that he saw a 7.5 foot tall gray and brown, or brown and gray rather, Sasquatch standing right where him and Parker were playing. Wow. Not just, but feet away from his slingshot. So he tells me the story, and I'm thinking, okay, so I'm familiar with the Sasquatch. Yeah. I know, okay, so you guys are shooting rocks into the woods. Yeah. Right? You're shooting into the swamp with the slingshot, right? Okay, so you know Sasquatch love to chuck rocks. Mm-hmm. And you gifted with pumpkin. and so then it came over, and you guys came in, and it walked over, not expecting to see you again. It walked over to check out what you guys were doing. You brought it in, or it was walking by, and it heard your stones throw, and Bigfoot throws stones. Yeah. We don't know why. They throw them at us because it's like a warning or some sort of communication, I feel. Yeah, go away. They're not so happy about us being there. And so they may do that amongst themselves as communication. Or just like tree knocking.
Yeah, it's been misinterpreted as another Sasquatch throwing. You know, he's walking along and stones are coming, and he's thinking, this is my land. Why, you know, I'm going to go over there and see you throwing stones at me, kind of thing. Right. Yeah. So anyway, so Jonathan tells me all this information, and literally my jaw was on the ground. I felt like such a doof for kind of dismissing him and not jumping on it faster. Mm. So by now it's coming up on 8 o'clock at night. And you just don't want to dash back now. And I'm like, all right, fine. As soon as we hit the door at home, I'm like on like battle station. Yeah. I fire up the computer, and we start looking online to see who and what we can call, and where do we report this? Who do we? Because this was something. Because he's excited about it now. Yeah. Now that he has parental attention, and him and his mom and I are both listening to his story. Yeah. He gets very excited about it, and I says, "Well, we should report this. Do you feel okay with me getting hold of someone?" And he said, "Sure. You know, let's do this." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I wish my parents had done that. I said, so we got home, and I told you I live right there in the Chestnut Ridge area. Yeah. And whenever it comes to Bigfoot and the Chestnut Ridge, there was only one man. And I saw his name come up probably 5 or 6 times, and I'm like, okay, well, this Stan Gordon fellow, this is who we want. So I called Stan's hotline number. He has like a UFO Bigfoot hotline number. And he came out, I'm sorry, he didn't come out. He sent out 2 of his fellow researchers. I believe their name was Dan and Colleen. I'm not 100% sure there. I'd have to. Yeah. He would know. He would know. Anyway, so they came out like within minutes. 15 minutes later. They surely lived locally, and they got there, and Jonathan relayed to them what he had seen and where he'd seen it, and they went back into the woods. Now, mind you, it's pitch black by this time. Late at night. It's in November. It starts getting dark about 4:30, 5 o'clock, and it's pitch black by now. So these 2 brave souls put on their little headlamp things and go traipsing off into this marsh and swamp area, like wooded swamp area. And like I said, it's part of the United States Army Flood Control Project that they built years ago to take care of, for where rivers back up into areas. So there's these low-lying areas for rivers to back up into. So it's a little marshy back there. Yeah. And it's swampy, and there's water, and there's birds and cattails and fish and all that living back there. Anyway, it's a small area, really.
between the back of our property and over to the other side of this is probably about an 8-acre parcel.
Yeah.
Not that big of a forested area, but it's surrounded by much larger forest.
Yeah, it's a nice corridor, yeah.
So pretty much the gist of it is he went outside, he rounded the side of the building, he ran, and there's a tree right there.
Yeah.
A small ornamental tree. And that's where he stopped dead in his tracks when he saw it. They locked eyes for about 10 seconds, and Jonathan said this thing just skittered off into the woods. He says they made eye contact. They were staring right at each other.
Oh, he's brave.
He was just going on it. It was quite amazing. But he described it as about 7 feet tall, brown and gray, like I said, and it was kind of like hunched over. And when it took off, it ducked low underneath some branches, so it kind of like got down really low.
Yeah.
And he never was able to state whether it was on all fours because it went out of sight pretty quick. But it was scooped down pretty low, and then it tore off, and he heard it go crunch, 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 crunch through the woods.
Wow.
And he relayed the story to these researchers, I believe, like I said, Dan and Colleen.
Yeah. And did they find anything in the woods when they went?
They went out, and they came back out after about 15 minutes. They did like a loop. They went into the yard, walked through the swamp, and then came back. Yeah. And they said, "Look, there's stuff back there. We saw some things.
Wow.
We want to come back in the morning.
Yeah.
Please don't go back there. Please don't let anybody get back there tonight."
Yeah.
And I looked him right in the eye and I says, "Buddy, there's no one going back there tonight for sure. Yeah. I can guarantee that no one's going back there tonight." So
yeah.
I was like, and so the following day was a Monday, and we let Jonathan stay home from school. Yeah. Because the investigators were coming. So Stan Gordon and his associates that had come the night before, they came to to go back in the woods and look. So
get a daylight look. Yeah.
And they found some pretty amazing stuff. They found a really great footprint. Oh, I think I posted it to your British your Facebook group a long time ago.
Yeah. I've still got that. Yeah.
Or, if you ever need a copy of that, just let me know. I'll zip it to you, okay?
Yeah. No, I think I've got it.
It's really a great print. It's really a great footprint, And
Marsh is excellent in it for holding a print, because when you step on marsh, the print fills with water, and it's just there, isn't it? It's ideal substrate for prints.
And this partially filled with water, just a little bit. But the nice thing about this one was my ex-wife, her boot print. She wore a size 7 hiker. Yeah. And her boot print is in the photograph, and I have it highlighted in green. Yeah. To show you the size difference and the weight difference. Now, my ex-wife, she probably weighed about 130, 140 pounds. And she didn't leave much of a mark, where this thing smushed in, 2.5, 3 inches deep.
So it's a heavy individual that's leaving it,
And it's a beautiful right footprint. It's a great picture and a great print. And we have several other prints, too, that weren't as defined, but you can definitely see the print without too much struggle. It looks, you can tell it was a footprint. So, but this one had the nice defined large toe, etc. And it was 13 and a half inches long and 7 inches wide. And after Stan had come back and looked at it, he came out and he said, "I'm going to send you an email here today or tomorrow. Keep an eye out for it." I'm like, okay. So they interviewed Jonathan. They voice recorded the whole thing, and they did a thorough search back there. They found several footprints, but unfortunately, it went into the deep water. Yeah. It went straight for the deep water. And when I say deep water, it's probably only about 2.5, 3 feet deep, but it went into the cattails of the swamp. So they went ahead and did all that, and they photographed the prints, and they did their investigation. Yeah. And then the next day, I got an email from Stan, and it was a footprint that he had casted about a quarter mile away from where we were on the other side of the highway.
Yeah, so
in 1984.
Along that corridor, right? I get you. Yeah,
yeah,
so.
Exactly. And right at about the same time of year, there was a sighting, and it took place on the other side of the highway from us, like I said, about a quarter mile.
That's brilliant.
And he casted that footprint, and the photograph of the cast that he sent me was identical
to the print,
to the footprint that we had from Jonathan's sighting.
That's brilliant, isn't it? It's validation for Jonathan as well.
It was 20, almost 30 years later, this thing's cruising through the same area.
Yeah, and you can back that up with the sightings around there. There are many sightings, aren't there? Is it the Chestnut Ridge? I know it's Chestnut.
The Chestnut the whole Chestnut Ridge, and I believe Allegheny County, where Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, is located, is actually their
like a route.
That Allegheny County has the most sightings in the state of Pennsylvania, but it's also the most, which is oddly. Because it's also the most populous in western Pennsylvania. Well, not oddly, but it makes sense because there's more people.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Yeah, more people to see and report. You need that person to see them, don't you?
I don't know what everybody's conceptions of what American cities are, but like if you drive outside of Pittsburgh, once you're 5 minutes outside of town, you're in the woods.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Yeah. But miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. Yeah.
So. Anyway, the thing about it was, Stan was, he felt, his words, this is a valid encounter, and they were, pretty satisfied with the evidence they collected there, and they have, they have a lot of sightings in that area, and have since the 70s. Yeah. Stan actually wrote a book about the early phase of it. It's called Silent Invasion. The book was a fascinating book. I actually gave it to Igor when he was here this summer. We exchanged novels or books rather. I gave him that. I gave him that Stan Gordon book, and he gave me the Dmitry Bayanov's In the Footsteps of the Russian Snowman.
Right, I've got that book.
Igor actually published that book. So,
right. I didn't know that, and I speak to Dmitry. I should know that.
He used to be quite a publisher. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Anyway, to continue with the story, so of course this is big news.
Yeah,
everybody was excited. We all started getting into Bigfoot again. Yeah. So as you mentioned earlier, how did I get into Bigfoot? Yeah, Bigfoot got into me.
Yeah, that's it. They find you, don't they? It's not the other way.
Yeah, I didn't choose this. I certainly didn't want this as a passion. I should be putting ships into little glass bottles or something as a hobby, or golfing or something.
No, this is much more fun.
I get photography and cryptozoology. That's what I get.
I have to say, Joe, I have to say, I wish that my parents had done what you did for your boy, because you instantly believed him and you validated him and you even reported it. My parents just didn't want to know, and it really affected me growing up that they didn't believe me, that it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen, and they didn't believe me. So to do that for him, it's amazing, because it just shows how far we've come with acceptance, if you get what I mean. The Brits are far behind.
Whenever I had my first sighting as a child, I didn't even tell my mom until years later.
That's it. And yet you were able to do that for him. That's brilliant, really, when you think about it. And you know what else I wanted to mention? You gifted. You said that you'd put the boys had put the pumpkins out there. I mean, basically.
That was what it was.
Yeah, it's probably come in and had and ate that as it was going through. Nice little meal as it was passing through, kind of thing.
Yeah, and not only that, there was also, I can give you the whole sighting, the whole scenery there about what was going on. There was many factors. Firstly, you have the rocks getting shot in the woods by the slingshot.
Yeah, exactly that, yeah.
Then you have the lure of the pumpkins. Yeah. And you have the lure of water.
Yeah, and food,
and wildlife. Yeah. And you have also back there, this was at one time old farmland. Right. And there were some dilapidated old apple trees.
I was going to say, you'd have fruit trees,
care of. There was a small apple orchard that had been let to go, and it kind of overgrew, but it still produced some shoddy little apples.
Food, it's all food, isn't it? And it's not just that, Joe, it's all the grubs and the bugs and the insects that they eat that we don't think about, that are attracted in to other food sources. I mean, the bulrushes themselves are food. You can eat the roots on them, you know, carbs. Yeah.
The root.
And then you got the
roots
fish.
of cattails are very edible.
Exactly, and you got the fish that is in there. There'll be living protein in that swamp. You know, I would imagine it's turtles and all kinds of stuff in there. So you see, it's if we accept the fact that they move through and they eat as they go in, you're a one-stop shop for that. And like you said, they'd thrown the stones in and then they'd come in, and it's probably come in to see what's been throwing the stones, and because he's nipped back out again to get his slingshot, he's caught it unaware. So it's been the perfect set of circumstances for him to have seen that Sasquatch at that point. It makes perfect sense to me.
Yep, I agree. It was everything just fell into place there. That's just all that happened. It was, everything, all the ingredients were placed at the right spot at the right time. So it kind of has the footprint. It has the, not to use the pun, but it has the footprint of a perfect scenario.
It definitely does. Yeah, most.
And it was the same time of year. Thing, and this is where they have the migration.
I was going to say, migrational route, maybe, I would imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what this thing was. It was moving along a route. It had been seen there before, years before, and God only knows how many more times it had come through.
Yeah, and it might be, there might be more than one. It could be a clan that's moving through there, you know, or a number of clans that are moving through there and are being seen. You know, I would imagine if there's ample food sources there, there'd be more than one moving through in that 30-year period, if you get what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard living there for a while after that because, well, I know neither one of my son Parker or Jonathan, neither one of them went back in that yard.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That was the last time they ever went there.
You look at the world in a different. Yeah, you do.
Parker didn't see it, but he was kind of the non-believing naysayer. He's like, this whatever. He didn't really buy the whole story. But he still didn't go in that backyard.
Well, yeah, you see now, you know, his brother is not. You can see, can't you know, what spooked somebody is when they see something like that. There's no way of explaining it. It's really, really hard.
And I really, and of course. This whole topic it's gaining ground, and people are becoming more interested in it. I've gotten more interested in it. I tried to start my group up, the S.O.N.A.R group.
Yeah.
I started that with just me. Originally, all it was, and now this is going to sound probably very familiar to a lot of folks. I started a web page so that my friend Steve and I could exchange Bigfoot information without sharing it on our regular Facebook pages. Just to keep that part private as far as, and I do, for the most part, I mean, a lot of people know that I'm into Bigfoot, but most to 90% don't know how far.
I get you,
I get Christmas gifts and stuff. I get, like coffee mugs and things like that with Bigfoot on them. But this is a much bigger part of my life than anybody, probably other than, Diane, knows. And my son, of course, he knows pretty well, too. But really quick about Diane, I wanted to let you know that Diane's daughter had gotten married, I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
That little conversation we're having down in Cascade, Idaho, which is south of a town called McCall.
Right.
McCall, Idaho is distinctive as it's a ski
resort
destination.
Yeah.
There's ski slopes there, and there's all kinds of beautiful town. It's great. There's restaurants, and it's just a lovely, touristy Idaho town.
Yeah.
So, and Cascade's nothing to sneeze at either.
No, exactly.
Cascade, Idaho is very pretty, a beautiful city with a ginormous, gorgeous lake. So, anyway, Grover Krantz, you know the name, of course.
Yeah, I know Grover,
Grover Krantz once said that if he had to look for Bigfoot, there was one place he would go.
The Cascades, yeah.
McCall, Idaho. McCall. He said McCall, Idaho.
Yeah.
And our fellow group member, Dorinda Bryant, she's in our group as well. She she's the one that gave me that quote. She's the one that she pointed me in the direction of Grover Krantz, saying that McCall, Idaho was the place to look for Bigfoot. So this summer, we went down there for her daughter's wedding, and we used an Airbnb, and we rented a large log cabin that was out in the woods.
Wow.
It was me and Diane and her ex-husband and her son and her son's girlfriend, and we were all going to the wedding, so we all might as well just stay in the same place. Yeah. So we rented this big house, and everybody chipped in a few bucks. It was a very nice place, but it was out in the woods. I don't want to call it a neighborhood, but there were other homes nearby, but it was very wooded.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah.
And I have a few photographs of the area where we were staying. And the night before the wedding, we were sitting outside on the back deck. Mm-hmm. And I was telling Diane that I kept thinking that I hear something in the woods over to the side of us, over to the left side of the deck. And that I think, and I know for certain that this area has activity. Yeah. And I didn't want to be one of those people that sees or hears Bigfoot everywhere.
I get you, yeah.
But after about 20 minutes of me hearing what I heard, I'm thinking, all right, there's something over there. Yeah. And we were talking, and it was getting late, probably around 11 o'clock now. And all of a sudden, just as clear as a bell, a beautiful tree knock. just a perfect tree knock, Yeah. And I'm like, oh, crud, there it is right there. And then seconds later, within probably 8 or 9 seconds later, a branch snapped. Oh. And right, probably, less than 50 yards away from us, this was happening. And after that, I realized that these things, there was more than one of them now. One's knocking, one's breaking. Yeah. And they're right beside this cabin out in the woods, and they're communicating with each other. And now I hear something on the right side of the deck coming up. So I'm saying, I'm not going out on a limb. There were at least 3 of these creatures right there. Oh, wow. And one of them, I swear, how people say, the hair on the back of your neck stands up, and you can tell you're being watched. Yeah. I could feel this thing staring at us.
Oh, God.
So we pretty much got up and went in.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We called it the night. I wasn't going to get up and do anything crazy, so I said, all right. So, but that was a pretty cool little encounter because, Diane's been pretty skeptical. Yeah. She's never had an encounter. She's never seen one. She just knows what I know and what I've seen. I've told her. So that technically is her first Bigfoot encounter. Yeah. It was interesting. It really was. I was very happy that happened because it chipped away at the skepticism.
I understand. My husband was the same. He believed me, but I don't think he believed the subject itself until he started coming out with me. And things changed, and then obviously now he knows, because it's different. We're 15 years on now, it's a completely different subject. But it is nice, isn't it, when your partner suddenly goes, actually, I think there might be something to this. Yeah.
Yeah, that's validation. Everybody wants validation.
Most definitely, yeah, you do. Most definitely.
It was very interesting. I was glad that it happened. I was actually kind of smiling ear to ear when it was happening. Yeah. Thinking, oh, this was cool.
Yeah, I was the same.
I wasn't afraid because I was out there with 2 other adults. If I'd have been out there by myself, I probably would have had piss running down my way.
I'd be terrified. So, I don't know. I'd be absolutely terrified. I would have just melted on the deck. Yeah.
We had car problems while we were down there.
Oh.
We have a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and on the way down, it ran fine, but as soon as we pulled into the cabin, it started blowing steam out. Yeah. And I'm thinking, oh, great, what is this? So it turns out the thermostat went bad.
Right.
So I didn't get to go to the wedding the next day. I had to stay there and take her with the car and try to figure out what was all wrong with it,
Oh.
And I did manage to get it fixed, and we limped it home. I took the thermostat out and put it back together, put everything back together, so we drove home with no heat. But it was in the middle of summertime, so it didn't matter anyway.
Yeah.
But I had to keep an eye on the temperature gauge the whole way home, though. So, but that day, there that night of the wedding when I was at that cabin by myself.
Yeah.
I did not go out. I was terrified. I slunk around the house with the lights off. I made sure I didn't go in front of any windows or anything like that.
I'd have been the same. I'd have been the same. I wouldn't have put my back to the door.
So I did. I'm not going to lie. I mean, these things are frightening.
Exactly. When people say, "Oh,"
once they give you the willies,
it's like seeing a lion times 1,000. Yeah, it's just you can't explain the terror, the size of the thing. They're just unbelievable. I speak to ex-army policemen, big. One guy I spoke to the other week, he said he was 6'7" and he weighed 17 stone. And he said to me, I can't drive down that road again. I cannot drive down that road again because I can't see it. I just can't see it again. And I've never been scared, but that's the scariest I've ever been in my life. And I hear that over and over again. And it's terrifying when you see them. People say, oh, I wish I could see one. And I always think, do you? Do you? Because it never leaves you.
Be careful what you wish for.
Exactly. It never leaves you.
That's what I said. I'm good. I go out in the woods like me and Steve. Like I said, we go out in the woods to look around for evidence and stuff. But I'm not there to look for Sasquatch. I'm just looking for I look for tree structures.
Yeah.
I look for footprints.
I get you.
I look for whatever, if there's any scat around that's suspicious.
Yeah, hair, that kind of thing.
I'm not looking for Bigfoot anymore. Yeah. I don't want to find Bigfoot. So the bad thing about it out here is, I already found Bigfoot.
Exactly. Yeah,
but,
exactly that.
If you go out in the woods here in Idaho, it's not exactly, there's bears, lots of bears, and mountain lions and other creatures that are very, aggressive.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to go out armed. You have to have some sort of firearm or something to protect yourself. Or at the very bare minimum, a lot of people carry bear spray.
Yeah, I would if I was out in the woods. Yeah,
it's like a can of mace,
Yeah, pepper spray. Yeah.
That stuff has an iffy reputation as far as effectiveness.
That's the one, isn't it? Yeah. You'd probably be better with a 45 or something like.
But something is much. I actually carry a shotgun.
I don't blame you. I really don't blame you. I mean, a cat. A cat will just take you, won't it? You won't even see it coming.
Yeah, they're real fast. And cougars, the way they kill, they put the way they go is they get your skull in their mouth and they crush it.
Exactly that, yeah.
So you don't want to mess, or they go for your throat.
Yeah.
So
the masters of the surprise attack, aren't they, as well? Yeah, that's the thing with cats. They skulk, and then because we have large cats here in the UK. For all the government says that we don't, we do. Because we've had DNA come back, and the sightings run into like 15,000 now or something like that. So, but you know what governments are like? They just say, well, no, you don't. You don't have any cats. But we do. And we see the kills out there, and the deer, the sheep, the ponies down on the South Downs and things like that. You see the kills, and you know that there's something out there that's killing, and it's a cat. It's not the South Downs. I've got that wrong, but I can't think. It won't come into my my head at the minute. In the New Forest, sorry. And these large cats, I would imagine, are 10 times more frightening in America because they've got better prey, better land to hide out in, Yeah. And do you have coyotes and wolves, Joe, where you live?
The wolves don't bother us. The wolves don't bother you.
The wolves don't bother me.
I've never seen a wolf in the wild. I've seen coyotes, I've seen bears, I've seen mountain lions. I've seen all those critters. I've seen bobcats, I've seen lynx. Yeah. But I've never, ever seen a wolf.
So there's a massive amount of protein out there that's keeping all of those predators alive, isn't there? So there's clearly enough food.
Elk herds. There's big elk herds and big deer herds here that the wolves have no trouble getting fed.
Mm.
Yeah, I've heard them. I've heard wolves howling in the nighttime and stuff. That's really a unique experience.
Yeah.
And but I've never actually laid eyes on one. I've seen their prints. I've seen wolf tracks. Whenever we go out in the woods, I see like a wolf track.
Yeah.
But it is. But for the most part, I mean, are you still planning on coming to the United States this year?
Oh, that's a whole story. A whole nother story. That one, Joe. The lady that I was going with, has turned out that I was hoaxed. Even I was hoaxed. I sent a hair sample to her that she said that she submitted to the DNA study. I asked her about it. You know, time went by and I didn't hear anything, and I asked her about it, and she said that it was too decayed to be tested, and I knew that that sample was less than 2 hours old. So obviously a red flag pinged, and I checked her out, and I got in touch with Oxford, and they said no, never heard of her, no DNA study going on. So I asked her for the hair back, and she returned it the next day, so it clearly hadn't been sent anywhere. And I decided at that point that I did not want to be out in Virginia with somebody that I couldn't trust, so I backed off from that one. But it just goes to show you, doesn't it? Even someone like me, who's got 37 years in, and has outed a million hoaxes, even I can be hoaxed. Because she sound,
right.
You know?
Because we have that overwhelming desire to gather the information, and sometimes it just takes a few minutes for you to look at it or pass it around. Let other people look at it, give different takes on it.
Yeah.
Sometimes if something new comes out, I get really excited and I post it right away. Turns out it's a photograph from 8 years ago.
We all do that. Oh, we all do that, don't we?
And that's a little frustrating. I
was annoyed at myself at first, and then I thought, well, I'm not annoyed at myself because it wasn't me who did the hoax, was it? She had no right to do that. She could have just come forward in the beginning and said, I have a real interest in the subject, and that would have been enough. I would have helped her 100% just for that, because that's all it takes for me. If you're interested in this passion behind it, I will put 110% in to helping you get where you need to go. So there was no need for the whole hoax, but I'll get there myself. I'll find a way. I'm determined.
If you ever find yourself in North Idaho, dear, please stop by.
I would love to one day, hopefully.
It really is a gorgeous place.
One day I would. I'd love to. I would absolutely love to. I've got a print.
Far from Washington. I'm only 3 hours from. I'm only 3 miles from the Washington border, and
if I could go anywhere,
Cascades are about 4 hours away.
So. Yeah, if I could go anywhere, that's where I'd go. I'd go to Washington State.
Yeah, well, the Freeman footage took place down in Walla Walla, which is about 3 hours from here. And then the Cascade Range, where
exactly.
Cascades, and all that's only like 3.5, 4 hours. And there's lots of activity over there. There's a little town called Clay Elum that's spelled CLEULM.
Yeah.
It's it's right at the base on the eastern slope of the Cascades, and they have tons of activity right there. And I already know that the McCall and Cascade area of Idaho are red hot. I'm trying to tell everybody that I can about that, so more people get down there.
Yeah, exactly. But, that's it. Yeah.
Really good.
I remember. Really, do you remember Henry Franzona? He would have been.
You've mentioned him to me before, and I honestly say I do not.
He mapped probably in the 90s now, in the early 2000s. He mapped all of the sightings in America on an actual 3D map, so that you could see the 3 mountain ranges that run down, as in the Cascades, the Rockies, and the Appalachian Trail. Then he mapped in water sources, as in rain count, and deer and elk population. And Washington State and the Cascade Mountains were the most on the map there. If you were going to go anywhere, that's where you should head. And it just stuck in my head. So when I've always been looking at America, I always look at like Washington State. Plus there was the Olympic project. Do you remember that? Where they were
sure do.
Yeah, so I was interested because of the Olympic projects as well. And some of the woods and the forests there are amazing. I used to watch this fella called Mick Dodge. I don't know if you've heard of him. He lives out there in the Ute on his own, and he just supposedly lives out there all year round on his own and forages and food. And I think if they're anywhere, that's where they are, because there's a wealth of food, isn't there? And there's just so many places that they could roam and get what they want when they want.
They really found several hot spots, and there's southeastern Ohio, Western Pennsylvania, big chunks of Florida, big parts of Mississippi and Alabama are kind of pockets.
Yeah, I get it, yeah.
East Texas, Louisiana as well. You don't get so much activity down in the desert. The Southwest is...
no cover,
of course, you still get lots of reports.
Yeah.
But the number of reports are mostly focused on the American Northwest, the American Northeast, the American Southeast.
Yeah, you can see it on the map when you look. It's like a thick band of forest that just runs across the top. I mean, to somebody from Britain, you could probably fit Britain in there a number of times. In all honesty.
As far as North America goes, between the United States and Canada, it's a huge landmass, and most of Canada is uninhabited. So.
Yeah, exactly that. I used to watch Les Stroud.
Uninhabited by human beings.
Yeah, exactly. And the hairy man, as they call him up there. Yeah. So, if it's okay with you, Joe, I'm afraid I'm going to have to hang up. I think I need to go and get some sugar. My mouth's clacking and I'm a diabetic and I think I forgot to eat. So is it okay with you if I just...
Hey, don't worry. That was good talk. Thank you ever so much.
I'm really sorry about this. I normally have a juice at the side of me and I've forgotten all about it. But I really need to go and... I will make sure that this goes up onto YouTube as soon as I can. Joe's group is called S.O.N.A.R and it's on Facebook and it's S.O.N.A.R, obviously with a dot between each one. But if you can't find it, find me. As my husband would be juice. If you can't find it, will you contact me and I will put you in touch with Joe.
I can share it to your group, right? And I can share a link to your group.
That'd be ideal, yeah. And then I will make sure that everybody can find their way there. And it's one of those groups that doesn't have a lot of misinformation in there. What you're going to see is real research. You're not going to see pareidolia pictures or bush shelters or any of that. You're going to see real research on the ground, and it's a good place to be. I like to be there. There's none of the drama and there's none of the debate that goes on in all of the other groups, as we shall call them, Joe. But you'll have to come back on sometime.
I try to keep it educational and informational.
And up to date.
I try to stay current. Feel free to post or share or like whatever.
Yeah,
we're a small group as of right now. We're always looking for more members, and I appreciate the plug. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Right, what is the name of your group again?
British Bigfoot Research. But
British.
I'll just pop it on my time.
I got it.
Yeah. All right then. Well, we'll definitely have to come back on so we can have another chat. So,
okay, thank you ever so much, Deborah. You have a nice rest of your weekend and have a good week, okay?
And you. Thank you very much, Joe. Good night.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
What an interesting conversation there, and I would recommend going over to Joe's group. There's a lot of decent researchers in there. Iger's in there, some of the old crowd are in there. And you're going to hear a lot of old tales and the old way that they used to do things back then. And in my opinion, it skips over some of this misinformation that's out there on what is a Bigfoot structure or what is not. The old school back then would say, unless you saw a Bigfoot standing next to it, or unless you saw a Bigfoot making it, you should not be stating theory as fact. And I agree with that. Post it as an unusual shelter, or post it as an unusual find. But don't claim it to be a Bigfoot structure unless you see him make it. So until next time, from me and Joe, good night everyone.